You know, there are mornings when the news kind of feels like it's distant, right? Something happening in some other place, some other city, some other world that you're kind of disconnected from. It's not really happening. It's not close to you. And then there are mornings like this one when the news reaches into um, a place inside that you don't really like to talk about often. And you guys know I'm very transparent. I share everything with you guys. I'm very candid about everything. Tim always tells me to TMI, but that's just who I am. So sometimes the news is, it hits a place that some people never see, that you never see. And it can be built on something that you yourself survived. And it's not something that you studied, but that you have an intimate, detailed knowledge of, and you know how it feels. So when I watched the Epstein survivors speak today, yeah, I found it was like, what is going on? Why am I? There's something tightened, something in me remembered, and then I'm going to say this plainly because honestly, it's easier than pretending. Like some of those women, something happened to me when I was a young boy. I was younger than 14. One of those tender ages that Megyn Kelly talked about with that strange coldness recently. And I know that it's tough at any age. The ages people like to tiptoe around because the reality makes them really uncomfortable. So the ages when you should still be figuring out who you are, not fighting off trauma that goes, not even that trauma that doesn't even have any words yet. And I always say, when I am in therapy about this, when I was in therapy, of just pertaining strictly to this, but a lot of it has to deal with this because this continues on throughout your life. I always say that my innocence was stolen because most kids are innocent up until the time that they choose to participate in adult things. So when I look at those women standing in front of microphones and in front of cameras and in front of a world that really failed them over and over, I don't see strangers there. I see courage, I see strength, I see determination, the kind of determination that survivors have that others simply can't fake. Let me tell you something though. Let me tell you about the place that I'm speaking from this morning. And it's something about me. I can I can see you coming. I can spot a phony. I can spot a bullshitter. I can spot um, just about any type of personality because of what happened to me at a very young age. I became really aware of people, and it taught me to be a quick study, to study people. So I can usually tell. I don't know why. I can tell when someone is lying to me. I can tell when they're not telling the full story. I know. People call it their spidey senses, but this is something that comes from experience that I would, the kind of experience that I would not wish on my worst enemy. These survivors know what I'm talking about. They know what we call the real ones and they know the fake ones because they didn't hold back. This morning, they didn't soften anything. They stood there and they said that they were betrayed. And they said they were betrayed not just by one man, although their ire was for one man. And it wasn't just by one administration, by powerful men, by presidents of both parties, they said, by institutions designed to protect them, and instead protected him, meaning Jeffrey Epstein. But they did direct most of their fire and ire at the president of the United States, who is Donald J. Trump, a man who is already back in the White House after having access and to the files the first time he was in the White House. A man who has spent the last 24 hours, if not longer, in a panic spiral. So obviously, it was so obvious that you can hear what he's saying before he even opens his mouth. This is one woman who is saying to Donald Trump, in this press conference this morning. Shame on you. Watch.
It is also not a hoax. We are here as American survivors of a man who used his wealth and power to hurt young girls and women. The world should see the files to know who Jeffrey Epstein was and how the system catered to him and failed us. Emotionally, this process has been distressing. First, the administration said it would release everything and then applauded President Trump for that. Then it fought to release nothing. Now that checks and balances of our democracy have worked and the bill is getting passed to release the files, we are hearing the administration say they intend to investigate various Democrats who were friends with Epstein. I beg you, President Trump, please stop making this political. It is not about you, President Trump. You are our president. Please start acting like it. Show some class. Show some real leadership. Show that you actually care about the people other than yourself. I voted for you, but your behavior on this issue has been a national embarrassment. It is time to take the honest, moral ground and support the release of these files, not to weaponize pieces of the files against random political enemies that did nothing wrong, but to understand who Epstein's friends were, who covered for him, what financial institutions allowed his trafficking to continue, who knew what he was doing but was too much of a coward to do anything about it.
Yeah. I was shocked though. And as I've got to tell you, I was shocked when she said she voted for him. Now, I don't know if she voted for him the first time or the second time or both times. I can't vote for someone who has been found guilty of, in a civil court, liable for, I just can't. So that was surprising to me, but hey, I appreciate what she said, and I have all the respect in the world for her because she did survive this and she has the courage right now. But that moment stood out to me, and you can't tell me that it didn't stand out to you. I was like, wait, what? Yeah. There was another one of the victims or the survivor, I should say, who says that she's traumatized, but she's not stupid.
And to the President of the United States of America, who is not here today, I want to send a clear message to you. While I do understand that your position has changed on the Epstein files, and I'm grateful that you have pledged to sign this bill, I can't help to be skeptical of what the agenda is. So with that being said, I want to relay this message to you. I am traumatized. I am not stupid. I am traumatized. I am not stupid. You have put us through so much stress, the lockdowns, the halt of these procedures that were supposed to have happened 50 days ago. The Adelita Grijalva who waited to get sworn in and then get upset when your own party goes against you because what is being done is wrong. It's not right. For your own self-serving purposes, this is America. This is land of the free. Land of the free. In 1863, we have a woman on top of the Capitol building represent freedom. I do not feel free today. I don't know if the women behind me feel free today. So I am begging every member of Congress, every representative to step up and choose the chaos, choose the survivors, choose the children, protect the children, all children. You protect all of us equally. Thank you very much for your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I hear you guys. Someone said they voted for him because they thought he was going to release the files. Okay, that's fair. But we know he is a known liar, that every time he opens his mouth, he's lying. So I understand that. So hopefully they will, again, I respect her courage. And she's a, grown woman. She can vote for who she wants to vote for. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That was a moment that just stood out to me because I watched very closely. And so And the press conference didn't end until a little bit before we came on. But here's the thing that I want you to know as on this whole topic of, that he was going to release the files or not release the files. So while these women were speaking, just a couple of hours before that, Donald Trump was on Air Force One attacking a female reporter who asked him about Epstein. She asked about the files the House may vote on releasing today. And she asked about his role, about what he knew, and the president of the United States, just standing there and the people's plane, because it's not his plane, it's our plane. And then he looked at a woman doing her job and he called her, sounds like, if you're listening to it, he reportedly called her a piggy. Watch.
You got to find out what did he know with respect to Bill Clinton, with respect to the head of Harvard, with respect to all of those people, and they know including J.P. Morgan Chase.
Sir,
Yeah,
is
Jennifer,
there
go ahead.
something
Go ahead.
incriminating in the file, Venezuela, sir?
Quiet, McGee.
Venezuela, sir, you've had a lot of meetings.
Yeah. And this is a man that people make excuses for. When you make excuses for, you can't call anybody else out for anything at all. Especially if you're a Republican supporting this man. And that's why we're going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'm just going to say that I always have to be honest. I want her to be a changed person. And in this aspect, with this particular thing, she is saying and doing the right things. But anyone who is supporting this man and then calls out Democrats or tries to cancel people for saying things, it's just even like Democrats, like, wake up, people. This man can say and do anything and people will make excuses for it. This man has hired people in his administration whose reputations precede them, let's put it that way. And yet he is in power. There is a lesson in this for people, a lesson just about winning, about strategizing, about owning a message, about understanding your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. But let that settle in. Donald Trump calling a woman, a working professional, a piggy. And remember, Donald Trump works for that reporter who is, I assume, if she is an American, she's an American citizen, pays his salary. He says he doesn't take it, but still, she does. Just because he doesn't take the salary doesn't mean that our money doesn't go towards the salary. They don't say, oh, Donald Trump's not taking the salary, so you get your not even a penny. You know what I'm saying? So let that settle in. So a survivor speaks with dignity. The president responds from the sky with insults. The contrast could not be more clear. It couldn't be clearer right now. It's not just that he used that word. It's that he used it in the moment that he felt most exposed. Because it's not what people are, people say and do things, that are confounding sometimes. So it's not what people do when it's normal, everyday things that are happening, but it's when in times of trouble, when they are pressed. That's when the truth of a man or a person shows itself. When he feels cornered, he wants to show his strength by bullying someone else. When he feels vulnerable, when he feels that the past is creeping up behind him. And make no mistake, he feels that creep. Because the first time in years, people in his own party are breaking ranks in broad daylight. Thomas Massie, Ro Khanna, and yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Roll it.
And that's what we did by fighting so hard against the most powerful people in the world, even the President of the United States, in order to make this vote happen today. I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me. And I want to tell you that this only became possible today because the American people whom we serve as representatives here in Congress demanded that this vote happen, and they put more pressure on every single elected politician in this city than has ever been put on them. And today you are going to see probably a unanimous vote in the House to release the Epstein files, but the real fight will happen after that.
So yes, she's right. You will see that vote later on, and then we'll see what the Senate does, and we'll see what the president does, because there's a catch. More of that in a moment. But these are not people that you saw standing there. The Ro Khannas of the world, the Thomas Masseys, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are not people who like join hands and they're always like kumbaya. Not people who share the same talking points, and not people who stand next to each other normally, unless something seismic is happening. And I think something seismic is happening right now. They stood together and they said the House must release the Epstein files. They said, they weren't quiet about it. They said loudly that they are tired of the obstruction. The American people deserve to know the truth. The survivors deserve the transparency. And they said with their full chest that although he has changed his tune now, but they don't believe that he really wants this vote to happen. That's not what his actions have shown. He does not want these files to see daylight. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.